Hello! So I've finished all the comics for the rest of this week. I've uploaded them and transcribed them and set them, they're good to go by the time you watch this. Wednesday's update will be up. And before I get into what I wanted to talk about today, I wanted to show you some of the other projects that I've been working on. So last year I ran a Kickstarter to get puppy cow plushies made. That was successful, and I'm finally getting to some of the more complicated GIF arts that I'm doing for backers. This is a watercolor painting. Somebody requested a puppy cow Thulu, so get all the gross pinkness. So I'm working on that. I'll probably scan that in or take a photo when I'm done. And then a friend of mine, Nick Berkowitz, who also goes by Ghost Freed Hood, is putting together an art show where we take Star Wars themes and classic horror movies and mash them together. And so, inspired by the Vader project, where artists took Darth Vader helmets and did their own interpretation and stuff, I am working on a Vader bucket with a Junji Ito theme. Junji Ito is a horror mangaka. He did Uzumaki, which is that weird, creepy spiral comic. I think there was also a feature film done of that. And then Tomine, I think that's how you pronounce it, Tomine, which is another creepy manga. And so I'm doing like an Uzumaki themed Vader helmet. This back thing is gonna have a spiral of creepy fleshy stuff. Ugh. We'll see how far I get. Deadline's coming up October 7th, so I've got a month or so. Plus watercolors, plus comics, so it's always busy. So I wanted to talk about something that I personally have a lot of trouble with, and I don't really have any good answers. So unlike most of the other videos where I give you advice about stuff, I need advice on this front. So now that I'm doing a lot more shows, I have a trouble with pricing my stuff. Or if somebody asks me, you know, how much is it for a commission, or how much is it for a design here, or you know, I want you to draw a cover. How much do you charge for that kind of thing? And I'm terrible at this. It's something that I have always struggled with, and I continue to struggle with it because I don't know how to gauge the monetary value of what I do necessarily, because you know, I'm always focused on making the thing, you know. So I guess from a straight up retail perspective, what I've heard is that you should charge 3.5 times whatever it takes for you to make the thing. So let's use an example. Here. So okay. So let's say it takes $1 for me to make a Sharpie pen, which is stupid, but this is just an example. All right. So it takes me $1. To make back the cost, I would have to charge $1, but that does me no good because I'm back where I started, absolute zero. And let's say I want to start a business with this, and I want to make more than just one Sharpie pen. So to really get my money's worth, I'd have to charge $2 because that gives me the manufacturing cost of one Sharpie plus the cost of another Sharpie. So now I can make 2 Sharpies with the sale of 1 Sharpie, which is pretty good because you want the chain to start paying for itself. But I'm still not making any money because the money that I made is going right back into the system. So I think that's where the 3.5 comes in, because after I pay for 2 Sharpies, I get this whole 1.5 or 150% back. I get this whole $1.50 that I can play with, that I can pocket. So $1 to make back what this costs, another $1 to make another thing to hopefully keep it going, and then $1.50 that I can pocket for profit. And numbers wise, that makes sense to me. So you know, some of the items that I have on my table, I know what they cost to make because you know, I didn't manufacture them myself. Like, I didn't manufacture puppy cows, I know what that costs to make. I didn't do my pendants, I know what that costs to make. And so with a numbers game, I can just, you know, I can price that. But how do I price something like this? I mean, I don't know what the monetary value is. I don't know how much money it takes me to paint this. I mean, I know what the physical costs, like I know what the costs of the paper are, and I know what the cost of the paint and the brush is, and all that. But like, you know, I don't know what the price of my brush stroke is, and I don't know what the price of my my thoughts about this or the sketches and all that kind of stuff. I mean that's something that I don't know. So when I see other artists out there charging, you know, different dollar amounts for their work, I think, you know, I always think to myself, well, how do you arrive at that number? Like, what's the theory behind that? Because some of it, I think, is based on what you can get, like the market value, like what you can get for it. Like, you know, if you're Adam Hughes, what you charge for a sketch is way more than somebody like me. You know, I'm a relative unknown in the comics field. Nobody knows me, so you know, I can't go to a convention and say expect somebody to plop down $300 for a sketch of mine. But when Adam Hughes used to do sketches for $300, he was undercharging because people were flipping those and selling them on eBay for like thousands and thousands of dollars. And now he doesn't do sketches anymore. He'll put up like an eBay sketch, and now he's making that money instead of the flipper, which is great. But how do you get to that number? Like, I mean, Adam Hughes has a certain amount of celebrity around him, and his stuff is amazing. And personally, I think it's completely worth it, what he's getting for his money on his eBay auctions. But like, you know, how do you price things? Is it straight up like market value? Like, is an Andy Warhol piece really worth millions and millions of dollars, or, you know, is that just the price that somebody can get for that? Now, I guess, I mean, if you want to break it down logically and hourly, there are ways to do that. Let's say like a watercolor painting takes you 8 hours to do. Well, there are some metrics out there that you can use to go back and calculate what your hourly rate would be depending on where you are in your career path. And there's a website that I've been doing some research on from it's the AIGA. It's the American Institute of Graphic Arts, and they've posted this website called, and I'll put this in the show notes, it's called designsalaries.org, and they've listed a number of professions and their expected salary ranges, and you can take those numbers and see where you are in your career path, and then divide that annual salary by how many work days there are, and then break that down further to get your hourly rate. And that might be a good place to start for something like, you know, a sketch or a watercolor piece. You know, see how long it takes you to do a certain amount of work. Like, you know, maybe it takes you 8 hours to do a proper ink sketch or an ink drawing. We'll get those numbers from the AIGA for where you are in your career. Divide that all up and plug that back in, and then multiply it by how many hours it takes. And then you might have like a really good base to start from when you're pricing things. But then I don't know where the fame part comes in. I don't even know if it's fame, but like, you know, skill level, that kind of thing. So pricing my stuff is always going to bother me, and you know, I don't want to undercharge for what I do, but I don't want to overcharge, because then no one's going to buy the shit. Or maybe somebody will buy the shit because they'll think, well, if this guy can charge like $100 for an ink sketch, maybe he's the shit, you know? So this is something that's going to bother me, I foresee, for a very long time, and it's something that I'm always going to be uncomfortable with. So I'd love to hear from you guys about your thoughts on pricing artwork. If any of you artists out there are artists yourselves who sell stuff like commissions or like paintings, how do you go about pricing things? You don't have to give out specific numbers, but I'd love to hear your theories about pricing and where those numbers come from, because you know, sometimes I go into galleries and I look at stuff and I'm like, man, they're just pulling those numbers out of their ass. So if you've got thoughts, if you've got strategies, I'd love to hear them from you, because I could use them myself. And alright, so thanks for taking the time to listen, and I guess I'll check you next time. Bye.